Death won't kill your lawsuit, but if your family isn't properly prepared, it will destroy their chance at justice. It doesn't matter if it's a personal injury lawsuit, commercial litigation, an estate matter, it doesn't matter. If you die while your lawsuit is pending, the answer is always the same, regardless of the type of litigation you're involved in. My name is Phil Rizzuto of the Rizzuto Injury Firm. We represent clients throughout Long Island, all 5 boroughs of New York City, Westchester, and beyond throughout New York State, and even throughout the country in all kinds of personal injury matters. Car accidents, truck accidents, slip and falls, trip and falls, construction accidents, products liability cases, cosmetic injuries, nursing home neglect, funeral home neglect. Any matter in which somebody was neglected by someone else and they were injured, we can help. In this video, I'm going to explain to you exactly what happens to your lawsuit if you die while it's going on. Just recently, I was preparing a client for a mediation. He was severely injured as a result of a car accident, and he wanted to know what happens to the lawsuit if I die. Does my family lose the money? What's going to happen? I told him not only was it a great question, but I was going to make a video about it to explain to him and everybody else exactly what happens. The short answer is an estate has to be created and the case will continue on. How this is done, how long it takes, and how the value of the case is affected has to be addressed. The first thing we need to know is, was there a will or was there no will? If there was a will, the process becomes much quicker and much easier because all we have to do is probate the will, and the executrix or the executor named in the will becomes a representative of the estate. And once the will is probated and we get letters testamentary, we can proceed with the lawsuit. Depending on the county, this can take just a few weeks or sometimes a couple of months. It's much quicker with the will than without. If there is no will, the first thing we need to do is figure out who the representative of the estate will be. That would be the administrator or the administratrix. And sometimes this can even be contested. If it's contested, that matter in and of itself will be litigated to find out who the representative of the estate will be for the purposes of not only the lawsuit, but the person's estate as a whole. Any potential distributee from that person's estate has to be put on notice that we are filing for letters of administration for the purposes of the lawsuit. Depending on the county, this process can take several months to sometimes several years. Regardless of whether there is a will or no will, this has to be done in surrogate's court, not Supreme Court or civil court. The surrogate's court is specifically set up for estate matters, and depending on what county this matter is brought in will depend on how long it takes. Again, it can take a couple of weeks up to several years. Once the estate is created, the representative of the estate essentially becomes the plaintiff in the lawsuit. Most parties will agree to file a stipulation to amend the caption so the lawsuit can proceed. If there is no agreement, then a motion has to be filed. Once this is accomplished through stipulation or motion, the lawsuit picks up exactly where it left off. Now, what we have to consider is, how is the value of the case affected by the person's death? In order to answer this, we need to know, was the death related to the accident, which is the subject of the lawsuit, or unrelated? If the death was related, it could substantially increase the value of the case depending on the person's age, their earnings, and who was relying on them for financial and emotional support and guidance. If you ever saw the movie A Civil Action with John Travolta, this is perfectly explained in the opening scene of the movie.
A dead plaintiff is rarely worth as much as a living, severely maimed plaintiff. However, if it's a long, agonizing death, as opposed to a quick drowning or car wreck, the value can rise considerably. A dead adult in his 20s is generally worth less than one who is middle-aged. A dead woman less than a dead man. A single adult less than one who's married. Black less than white. Poor less than rich. The perfect victim is a white male professional, 40 years old, at the height of his earning power, struck down in his prime.
If the death is unrelated, the value becomes severely limited because there are 2 components of damages, past and future. The value of your case is now determined based upon the injuries you sustained from the date of the accident up until the date of your death, and there is no future damages. Finally, once the lawsuit is resolved, whether it's by settlement or a jury verdict, we have to determine how the money will be distributed to the estate. And in order to do that, we go back to the first thing we discussed, which is whether there is a will or no will. If the debt was related to the incident which gave rise to the lawsuit, we still need to get the court's approval in order to distribute the money to the estate. Again, depending on the county, will determine on how long the process takes. If there was no will, the money gets distributed by the laws of intestacy, which means, for example, a spouse only gets the first $50,000 and 50% of the remaining estate. The children get the remaining $50,000. If there was no spouse, then the laws of intestacy will determine how the money is distributed. As you can see, it's important to hire an attorney who is not only knowledgeable in personal injury litigation, car accidents, construction accidents, slip and falls, trip and falls, cosmetic injuries, nursing home neglect, funeral home neglect, but to find an attorney who is knowledgeable enough to maximize your recovery, get you as much money as quickly as possible, and knows not only the civil court system, but the surrogate court system. If you or a loved one have questions about this video or any personal injury matter whatsoever, or any matter whatsoever, ring Rizzuto, we can help. And if you found this information useful, like the video, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, and follow for more, and I will see you next time.